Now that you have configured your HM Orchestrator infrastructure, even adapters that you want to work with, the next step is to make it easy for HM Orchestrator workflow developers to leverage the adapter technologies that are in place. For example, you might have an adapter for Remedy configured. You have an adapter for database automation, an adapter for network automation, an adapter for server automation, and even an adapter to talk to CLM and going back and forth. Any BMC solution that you have in place, you have a pre-configured adapter in your grid infrastructure. In addition to this, you also have industry standard protocol adapters, SSH, command line, HTTP, web services, and so forth. So a bunch of adapters are configured in your HM Orchestrator infrastructure. How can you apply a naming schema to these adapter configuration, have a centralized location for retrieving adapter names so you can leverage them? If you use the out-of-the-box modules with their corresponding adapter names, you have to open up each of these modules, check what name it is, or read the documentation, make sure that your grid infrastructure has a matching name. This going from one environment to another can be very time-consuming from an administrative point of view. So in this lesson, we're going to focus on creating an XML structure that contains all our adapter names, preferably with a naming convention applied. For example, we leverage certain names for industry standard protocols and a different naming convention for application adapters and so forth. And if a specific adapter requires configuration for one target system and has only a one-to-one relationship, what kind of adapter names do we apply there? So that some other folks who look into the HM Orchestrator infrastructure understand how the adapters are configured and labeled. So let's look into our development studio to generate a workflow that helps us to make it easy for other workflow consumers, for other HM Orchestrator workflow developers to leverage adapters. Here we see the XML structure for our adapter configuration using attributes like type and location to identify the final adapter name. We save this configuration in a module configuration of the context type XML. This structure can contain adapter names for different location, production, lab, test, QA, and so forth, and different types of adapters like application or protocol adapter. We generate a new workflow for your educational benefits. You can fast forward or review some of these activities as you see fit. Next, we are going to leverage the concept of having context item available for the consumer without requiring them to add additional information like the location context item. We talked about this in another video where we use the assign default if empty XSLT. We apply a default location based on the module configuration. The consumer of this workflow has to focus only on the type of adapter that he would like to leverage. For example, industry standard protocols like SSH, file, HTTP, and so forth. In addition, we can also have adapter configuration for applications like VMware or BMC, Remedy, and so forth. Keep this simple at this point. By means of an assign activity, we generate the transform to evaluate the location and type data and so match the proper adapter name. Using a module configuration that contains all our adapter names, we avoid opening up all the different out-of-the-box workflows or the ones that we develop on our own. We have now a central location for all adapter names. And since we want to work in different locations, we assign per module a location context item. You should be familiar with the assigned default empty XSLT at this point and how to import and export XSLT. Context items that are used within the workflow and not being exposed further, I prefix with an auxiliary term. At this point, we're leveraging the transform editor to evaluate the adapter names. This is where the core of our workflow is going to be handled. We take an element as the root node. Each XML document must have a root node. And under the root node, we fill in the XPATH expression to identify the adapter name. As you can see, the attribute type is identifying the protocol or application type. We retrieve this information based on the consumer input and assign it to a token. We compare the token with the attribute. If the token and the attribute match, then this is going to be a possible candidate. Next, we are going to leverage the location attribute and also compare the token location with the attribute location. If they match, we have the proper adapter name extracted. Save and execute this workflow. We expose the adapter name as the context item adapter name. Most out of the box workflows that leverage adapter technologies have a context item called adapter name. Makes it easy for us to drag and drop this workflow into this low-level execution.